Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keane. As always, I would like to thank you guys for joining me. I ask that you please add, follow, and check us out. Instagram, Facebook, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, and wherever you're watching from, make sure to hit that like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and share this link. It really helps me to get it out there and for new people to find me when you share. So share it to your groups, your social medias, everything. That's like the best way to support me. Also, keep in mind, we're completely viewer powered. So if you would like to donate and support to the channel, you can do that. Oops, sorry guys. You can do that by going to PayPal, Cash App, Facebook Messenger Pay, or by joining us over on Patreon. All the links are in the description box down below. And tonight, the first half of the show is going to be, for the public, but it's Sunday, so tonight we do the Best Damn Fam Live, or better known as Uncensored. This is where we do, the first part public, and then the second part we take it to a private level, over on Patreon, and we really dig into a lot of the things that we'll be discussing, and it's more of, in a manner that can't be talked about, on the public platforms. And I mean, you guys are pretty aware with, a lot of the things going on with YouTube and Facebook, so I'm sure it's no surprise. So if you would like to join me, it's every Sunday. You can do that by going to patreon.com, Best Damn Podcast Official. Or if you don't want to do the monthly pledge membership thing, you can donate and support in the month of January, and you'll get access to all of every week in January live, as well as the entire uncensored library by going to paypal.me/the Best Damn Podcast, Cash App Best Damn Podcast, or facebook.com John Keane Best Damn Podcast. And big ups, big thanks to everybody who does donate and support. Right now it's I know it's hard for everybody financially, so I'm really grateful for the people who, do support me and do take care of me that way. It's really huge. I got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, so every little bit, you have no idea how much it helps me, and even just a little, probably for some of you, is a lot to me at this moment. So thank you so much, and thank you for watching, guys. We're going to be getting into the Necronomicon, Cthullo Mythos, and the 50 names of Marduk tonight. Now this, we'll kind of go ahead and, look at what the wiki says and all of this, but, this is one of my favorite books, when it comes to spiritual texts, ancient texts. And I'll tell you why. Because there has been so many things, based off of this from, the Lovecraft novels with the, Cthulhu's and all of that, and Aleister Crowley and his interpretations on this, but all occultists are familiar with the Necronomicon, and it is said that this is a cursed book, right? So there is a stigma where a lot of people won't even touch this fucking thing. They won't even touch this thing. They won't even look at it. They won't even read it. They want nothing to do with it. And I feel like the reason being, and some people you can agree or you can disagree, but the reason being is because anytime a book has real knowledge, anytime a book has real secrets, real wisdom, and remember, that's what the occult actually means, is something that is hidden, right? Anytime it has real hidden gnosis in there, they try to demonize it and put a negative stigma to it. That way the masses, will be too fearful and too scared to even look that direction. And that's basically what happens with a lot of the different occult texts. Just think about the word occult in general. Like, if you just even say that word, people automatically assume their mind goes to a negative connotation. They think of evil. They think of darkness. They think of witchcraft. They think of, Satanism and all of this, especially, the people that are like afraid of the tarot and things like that. They won't even, even look in this direction when it comes to the Necronomicon. But spiritually, though, it does a good job of explaining, the old ones and, kind of what we would call the fallen angels or the Anunnaki from a unique and different perspective and point of view. And I feel like a lot of you guys are going to take a lot of value from this if you have an open mind. Now, remember to use your critical thinking, your spiritual discernment anytime, we're discussing something like this. But it's like, keep an open mind. I'm not asking you to, become an occultist or practice magic or anything like that. Not at all. I'm asking you to keep your mind open, though, for the different forms of symbolism and the different schools of thought that are within this text, because I feel like it's going to provide you not only a different point of view in order to understand spirituality and, entities and, how the collective unconscious is affected by this and how we are a part of all of this, but I feel like it's going to open you up in a way that maybe, you were never open before, and you're going to feel empowered, not fearful, by being able to understand books like this and look at these books and say, hey, this has no power over me. You know what I mean? This isn't going to curse my life because I looked at it. This isn't, these books don't have power. I'm the one with the power, right? If you believe you're cursed, you're cursed. That's how those things work. But if you believe that, you were given a brain, God gave you a brain, for a reason, to use it, to think, to understand. And he even says, for lack of knowledge, surely my people will perish. So you have to understand that these elites, okay, these are the texts that they're looking at, they're studying, they're understanding, and they're using against a lot of us. And it's these understandings, right, that they believe in. So it's like, it don't matter if you believe it to be true or not. It's better to know how your adversary believes, right? So you can understand at what angle they're coming at you or how they would use the different things against you. And so I feel like it's almost foolishness to not, at least look and try to learn. Because at the end of the day, I feel like that is the whole point of being here on planet Earth, is to learn, is to grow, right? To advance through different lessons in life, whether it's, soul contracts we have with lovers within relationships, or it's learning different spiritual teachings to help us develop and grow as a human being and evolve as a spiritual being, or it's for us to, grow in ways to where we empower ourselves by not allowing fear to dictate our lives. Where we're willing to be in the driver's seat and to take control and steer ourselves on the path that God has laid out before us, And if you're like a warrior of the light, then you already understand that, sometimes you have to go into dark places, and you can't be fearful of that darkness. You have to carry your light in there with you. So I want to say thank you guys. I don't know if the notifications went out or not, so we'll see. Like I said, please hit that like, give us a thumbs up, share the link for me, and everybody, please, please, please consider donating, supporting. I really need the help right now, so I greatly appreciate it, and it's really worth it. You guys will get access to the private part of tonight's presentation. So, and if you've donated on like PayPal, Cash App, or Facebook, you just text me 513-393-2396, and I will send you the link before I get started over there tonight. So, Cthullo is a cosmic entity created by the writer H.P. Lovecraft and it was introduced in his short story, The Call of Cthulhu, published by the American pulp magazine Weird Tales in 1928. Considered a great old one within the pantheon, and the great old ones. These are entities usually depicted as immensely powerful and utterly indifferent to humans who can barely begin to comprehend them. However, some entities are worshipped. And within the pantheon of Lovecraftian cosmic entities. Now, the creature has since been featured in numerous popular culture references. Lovecraft depicts it as a gigantic entity worshipped by cultists in the shape of a green octopus, like a kraken, a leviathan, hydra, right? We're gonna see a lot of comparisons to these type of beasts and creatures too throughout this. So Lovecraft depicts it as a gigantic entity worshipped by cultists in the shape of a green octopus, dragon, and caricature in human form. The Lovecraft-inspired universe, the Cthullo Mythos, where it exists with its fellow entities, is named after it. And the etymology, it's invented by Lovecraft in 28. The name Cthulhu is probably chosen to echo the word Chthonic, which means in ancient Greek, of the earth. As apparently suggested by Lovecraft himself at the end of the 1923 tale, the rats in the walls, the Chthonic or earth-dwelling spirit, has precedence in numerous ancient and medieval mythologies, often guarding mines and precious underground treasures, notably the Germanic dwarves and the Greek shalbies, telchins, and dactyls. Lovecraft transcribed the pronunciation Cthulhu as Cthulhu and said the first syllable pronounced gutturally and a very thickly. So like Cthulhu, right? It's what do we call that? It's what do they call that, guys? Not love language, but it's like our heart language, right? Cthulhu or Om or Ah, right? It's like a guttural sound that comes naturally from humans before we had words and the language that we speak now, right? So it's like the truest form of language, uttering these sounds, Cthulhu. So the U is about like that in lull, and is the first syllable, and not unlike clue and sound. Hence, the H represents the guttural thickness, yielding something akin to whatever. However, Lovecraft gave different pronunciations on different occasions. According to Lovecraft, this is merely the closest that the human vocal approaches can come to reproducing the syllables of an alien language. Cthulhu has also been spelled in many other ways, including Tulu, Cthulhu, and Cthulhu. Long after Lovecraft's death, Chaosium stated in the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, we say it Cthulhu, even while noting the Lovecraft said it differently. Okay, now, we're going to jump into the actual book over here, too, right? This is the Necronomicon, guys. This is very, very interesting, I hope. And some of you guys are familiar with this, alright? And this is actually the complete Simon Necronomicon. There's different interpretations of this book. So, and different versions of this book. This one is my favorite, and this one is the best version of this book. So, introduction. In the mid-1920s, roughly 2 blocks, and let me know too, guys, if you can hear me and you can see me. Yeah, dead languages. Yeah, James. Absolutely. I believe they are dead languages. What? You caught a live on your day off? Yeah, awesome. Just let me know if you guys can see me and you can hear me and all of that good stuff. All right? I would really, really appreciate that if you guys would let me know in the chat. And, I'm coming through clear, and I have tried to up the quality because I had people complaining about, it wasn't crispy enough, the picture. So, the mid-1920s, roughly 2 blocks from where the Warlock shop once stood in Brooklyn Heights, lived a quiet, reclusive man, an author of short stories who eventually divorced divorced his wife of 2 years and returned to his boyhood home in Rhode Island, where he lived with his 2 aunts born on August 20th, 1890. Howard Philip Lovecraft would come to exert an impact on the literary world that dwarfs his initial successes with Weird Tales magazine in 23. He died tragically at the age of 46 on March 15, 1937, a victim of cancer of the intestine and Bright's disease. Though persons of such renown as Dashiell Hammett were to become involved in his work, anthologizing it for publication both here and abroad, the reputation of a man generally conceded to be the father of Gothic horror did not really come into his own until the past few years with the massive republication of the works by various houses. A volume of selected letters and biography in the July 1975 issue of the Atlantic Monthly, there appeared a short story entitled There Are More Things, written by Jorge Luis Borges, to the memory of H.P. Lovecraft. This gesture by a man of literary stature of Borges is certainly an indication that Lovecraft has finally ascended to his rightful place in the history of American literature. In the same year, Lovecraft found print on the pages of Weird Takes. Another gentleman was seeing his name in print, but in the British tabloid press, New Sinister Revelations of Aleister Crowley. Read the front page of the Sunday Express. It concerned testimony by one of the notorious magician's former followers, or actually the wife of one of his followers, that Crowley had been responsible for the death of her husband at the Abbey of Thelema in Cefalù, Sicily. The bad press, plus the imagined threat of secret societies, finally forced Mussolini to deport the great beast from Italy. Tales of horror filled the pages of the newspaper in England. For weeks and months to come, satanic rituals, black masses, animal sacrifice, and even human sacrifice were reported or blatantly lied about. For although many of the stories were simply not true or fanciful exaggeration, one thing was certain: Aleister Crowley was a magician and one of the first order. Born on October 12, 1875 in England, in the same country as Shakespeare, Edward Alexander Crowley grew up in a strict fundamentalist religious family, members of a sect called the Plymouth Brethren. The first person to call him by that name and number by which he would become famous after the reference in the book of Revelation, the beast 666, was his mother. And he eventually took this appellation to heart. He changed his name to Aleister Crowley while still at Cambridge, and by that name, plus 666, he would never be long out of print or out of newspapers, for he believed himself to be the incarnation of a god, an ancient one, the vehicle of a new age of man's history, the Aeon of Horus. Displacing the old age of Osiris, in 1904 he had received a message from what Lovecraft might have called out of space that contained the formula for a new world order, a new system of philosophy, science, art, and religion. But this new world order had to begin with the fundamental part and common denominator of all four: magic. In 1937, the year Lovecraft dies, the Nazis banned the occult lodges of Germany. Notable among them, 2 organizations which Crowley had supervised, the AA and the OTO, the latter of which he was elected head in England, and the former which he founded himself. There are those who believe that Crowley was somehow magically responsible for the Third Reich, for 2 reasons. 1, that the emergence of the New World Orders generally seemed to instigate Holocaust, which is a burnt offering. And 2, that he is said to have influenced the mind of Adolf Hitler. Now, while it is almost certain that Crowley and Hitler never met, it is known that Hitler belonged to several occult lodges in the early days after the First War. The symbol of one of these, the Thule Gesellschaft, which preached a doctrine of Aryan racial superiority, was the infamous swastika, which Hitler was later to adopt as a symbol of the forms. However, is evident in many of his writings, notably the essays written in the late 30s, Crowley seemed to regard the Nazi phenomena as a creature of Christianity and its anti-Semitism and severe moral restrictions concerning its adherents, which led to various types of lunacies and hang-ups that characterized many of the Reich's leadership. Yet, there can be, perhaps, little doubt that the chaos by which engulfed the world in those years was prefigured and predicted in Crowley's Liber Legis, the Book of the Law, the Mythos and the Magick. We can profitably compare the essence of most of Lovecraft's short stories with the basic theme of Crowley's unique system of ceremonial magic. While the latter was sophisticated psychological structure intended to bring the initiate into contact with his higher self via a process of individuation that is active and dynamic, being brought about by the patient himself, as opposed to the passive depth analysis of the Jungian adepts. Lovecraft's Cthullo Mythos was meant for entertainment. Scholars, of course, are able to find higher, ulterior motives in Lovecraft writings, as can be done with any manifestation of art. Lovecraft depicted a kind of Christian myth of the struggle between opposing forces of light and darkness, between God and Satan, in the Cthullo Mythos. Some critics may complain that this smacks more of the Manichaean heresy than it does of genuine Christian dogma, yet as a priest and former monk, I believe it's fair to say that this dogma is unfortunately very far removed from the majority of the faithful to be of much consequence. The idea of a war against Satan and the entities of good and evil having roughly equivalent powers is perhaps best illustrated by the belief common amongst the Orthodox churches of the East in a personal devil as well as a personal angel. This concept has been amplified by the Roman Catholic Church to such an extent, perhaps subconsciously, that a missal of the editor's possession contains an engraving for the feast of St. Andrew, Apostle, for November 30th, that bears the legend, Ecce qui tollis peccata mundi, Behold him who taketh away the sins of the world. And the picture above it is of the atomic bomb. Basically, there are two sets of gods in this mythos. The elder gods, about whom not much is revealed, save that they are a stellar race that occasionally comes to the rescue of man, and which corresponds to the Christian light, and the ancient ones, about which much is told, sometimes in great detail, who correspond to darkness. These latter are the evil gods who wish nothing but ill for the race of man, and who constantly strive to break into our world through a gate or a door that leads from the outside in. There are certain people among us who are devotees of the ancient ones, and who try to open the gate so that this evidently repulsive organization may once again rule the earth. Chief among these is Cthulhu, typified as a sea monster, a leviathan, dwelling in the great deep. And think about, and we're gonna really break this down as we go through. I just want to give you the rundown here, but keep in mind, you're made up of 70% water. The earth is made up of 70% water. This is a god of the earth. We heard the translation, right? A Cthulhu. And space, the heavens, is referred to in many spiritual or scriptural texts as the waters above the firmament. So him being, a sea monster. When we look at those waters, a lot of them refer to biblically as sea foam, which translates into seamen, right? So, which correlates to reproduction. So you're going to see masculine, feminine, and you're going to see the serpents, Leviathan, which are, all of these are typified in, biblical tales. So it's very biblical in these kind of ways, with the connections to a lot of the dark entities and things of that nature. And think about space ships, right? Sailing on those seas, right? Just saying, man. And you're going to even see comparisons with Marduk, Enki, and Enlil, the Anunnaki, which those from the heavens came, right? These old ones, great ones, you're going to see a lot of it, guys. It's really cool, actually. And it really gives you a unique take on all of this. So, dwelling in the great deep as a sort of primeval ocean, a being that Lovecraft collaborator August Derleth wrongly calls a water elemental. There is also Azathoth, the blind idiot god of chaos, and think of him as more like a Samael, right? The god of the blind. Yog-Sothoth, right? Thoth. Azathoth's partner in chaos. Shub-Niggurath, the goat with 1,000 young, or the goat, right? I'm just saying, you're going to see this, and others. They appear at various times throughout the stories of the Cthullo Mythos in frightening forms, which test the strength and resourcefulness of the protagonists in their attempts to put the hellish things back to whence they came. There is an overriding sense of primitive, dear, and cosmic terror in those pages, as those men in dealing with something that threatens other than his physical safety, his very spiritual nature. This horror cosmology is extended by the frequent appearance of the book Necronomicon. The Necronomicon is, according to Lovecraft tale, a volume written in Damascus in the 8th century AD by a person called the Mad Arab and Abdul al-Hazid, or al-Hazred. Now, and I just want you to know, too, with the Mad Arab thing, Freemasonry and the Knights Templars and all of that came out of Ishmaelism, right? So the story of the Mad Arab actually comes from a lot of that. So, just saying, like these secret societies. It must run roughly 800 pages in length, as there is a reference in one of the stories concerning some lacunae on page in the 700s. It had been copied and reprinted in various languages. The story goes, among them Latin, Greek, and English. Dr. D, John D, the magus of Elizabethan fame, was supposed to have possessed a copy and translated it. This book, according to the mythos, contains the formulae for evoking incredible things into visible appearance. Beings and monsters which dwell in the abyss and outer space of the human psyche. So outer space is outside of the human psyche, right? So if we think of Earth, and I've said this many times, and I don't know if people agree with me or not, but it's how I see it. We live on Earth is essentially like the collective third eye for humanity's consciousness, right? You can look at it as like it's like a snow globe, like a collective third eye for all of our consciousness connected together. We all have our individual third eye, and then we have this collective third eye that we call Earth, right? And the abyss or the outer space is outside of that collective consciousness, or outside of that psyche, and that's where these heavenly hosts dwell as well. These luminaries, and in the Bible they were like hit of the north, right? The north, which means the hidden or the deep, right? The hidden or the deep. It's space. It's outside the collective unconscious. Our demons are part of our collective consciousness, but they are unconscious within us, meaning before the flood, they were once active when we were able to see and hear on a very, very much larger spectrum than we are now, before we had the blinders put on, before our telomeres were altered, and we're now only able to live 120 years. Before, our language was confused and all of those things, and we were scattered across the earth because of the Tower of Babel. So before that, all of these other entities, these animalistic spirits, were a part of us. And if you think about the stories of like the Nephilim, which are the sons of the Watchers, right? The angels, which would probably be us pre-flood, just saying. And how they were eating men, devouring man. So it's like a spiritual entity devouring us. They were giants as well. And if we think about the correlation of size, like in ancient Egypt, let me see if I can pull this up and show you. In ancient Egypt, I think it's the row of the kings or whatever. They have, let me see if I can pull this up. Valley of the Kings. Alright. I'm going to show you. And a lot of people believe that this correlates to, and you'll see right here. See right here, these images right here on the left-hand side. Hopefully you guys can see this. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let me see if you can see it here. Over here on the left-hand side. Let's see if I can. See if I can make this bigger so you guys can actually fucking see it here. Okay, there we go. Alright, so there you go. So as you see, like, they've got these statues of kings, right? These giant beings. And if we look at in this, valley and Egypt, remember, this is where all these mysteries and stuff came from. We were in a different cycle back then. We were a different level of consciousness. Some are like 15 feet tall. Some are 36 feet tall, right? And that's according to their conscious level. So then, you guys have heard of like Metatron as well. The angel Metatron, which is like the perfection of man consciously. He's 55 feet tall, right? So conscious levels. And if you look at like how over time mankind was smaller, right? Like when we dig up graves and shit of men from the past, they were smaller because we weren't as consciously developed. These giants were fallen angels, right? And they were like fucking giants. They were huge, And now we are getting taller and taller. And, there's even been skeletons found of hobbit people. And if you look at like Neanderthal, they were like 5 foot tall, Like that's because of conscious level. And these Valley of the Kings, same thing. Their statues are according to their conscious level. So if they're like 36 feet tall, they were like a way higher level of consciousness. That's why they were actually kings, because they were angels or gods, little g gods, if you will. So, alright, so when we look at, and then we all know that, Earth being, we're these fragments or fractals of the infinite in one hand that connects all of us collectively, that animates all of us, that piece of light or piece of God. But our dark aspect is a prism or a holographic projection of the watchers or the archons or the governors, which would be the 7 main planets, the 7 rays, the 7 colors of the rainbow, right, which represents the Ark of the Covenant, right, our agreement with God. The 7 planets, 7 days of the week, which correlate to the 7 chakras, and all those chakras correlate to the planet too. Your heart being Earth, Earth being an anagram for heart, E-A-R-T-H, H-E-A-R-T-H, right? Heart, Earth, I think I spelled it wrong, but heart, Earth, right? And then the sun is your solar plexus. And we've talked about on this channel circumambulation, which Carl Jung speaks a lot about in the collective unconscious. But circumambulation is, the orbiting within oneself. Like those 7 chakras, it's your own solar system, basically, within yourself. where you are taking off the layers. You're going deeper and deeper in a downward spiral, inward into the center of your universe. And universe is you inverted, literally. So we project our reality. Everything that we see is a manifestation of within the inside. Our brain is just an instrument, of our inner universe, right? So it's a replica of the universe. So it's like a tool that we use. Consciousness actually uses our brain as a tool to navigate our body. Our body's just our vessel or our ship, right? Our ship. I hope that makes sense. I mean, we'll get into more of this stuff, but I'm just trying to explain the thought process here. So such books have existed, in fact, and do exist. Idris Shah tells us of a search he conducted for a copy of the Book of Power by the Arab magician Abdul Qadir. See The Secret Lore of Magic by Shah, of which only one copy was ever found. The Keys of Solomon, and Soul, Man, right? Like, so, moon, sun and moon, had a similar reputation, and or soul, moon, right? As did the Magus by Barrett, until all these works were eventually reprinted. And think about it. I just want to show you all these names. If we sound them out and shit, we do find what these names and characters mean. And language correlates to energy just the same, right? Letters or characters or symbols for sounds. We put them together. They're represented by, they can be represented by numbers, right? Numerical codes within everything, as well as symbols within everything, which translates to sounds within everything. And it's to trigger or activate certain parts of the unconscious, because that's where we store all of our Akashic information, right, is in our unconscious. So it's like the conscious is like our antenna. Our third eye is receiving signal from God or the sun, which is pure awareness, right? The moon filters said awareness in a physical way or a emotional, lesser, lower way. And all 7 planets as well are filtered through the moon. That's why it's silver. And the lower part of the Kabbalah tree, or the Sephiroth. And we take all this information, this awareness, we're constantly receiving these frequencies, and we're storing it in our shadow side, our lower side, our lesser side. And when we read certain things, speak certain things, hear certain things, it triggers those parts of that information or energy that's stored, and it activates it. And that's what a lot of rituals are actually meant to do, is to trigger those processes within you to bring you to a certain state of being, or a certain state of awareness, or a certain level of consciousness, right? That's what Freemasonry actually is. Freemasonry, is all about the Temple of Solomon. The Temple of Solomon is literally like a fucking handbook on how to activate yourself. Remember, Solomon built his temple with demons, right? Demons are a part of that collective unconscious. Remember, they're not active in us now after the flood. Our telomeres have been altered. We only use 10% of our brain, so we have a governor on our brain. We see 0.0001% of the electromagnetic light spectrum. We don't see past ultraviolet or infrared, right? We can only hear certain sounds. We can't hear extremely low or high frequency, so we're we're incredibly limited now. And that's what Solomonic magic is actually all about, is first invoking the archangels, right? Electrical archangels, because the creation is made out of curves and angles, right? Angles make up the physical reality, and spheres or curves make up the heavenly realm, okay? And when we think about, these 4 archangels, right? Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. These are the 4 angels, and they rule the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 winds, the 4 horsemen, right? All of these things, and we invocate them In the Golden Dawn, OTO, AA, all these secret societies, Freemasonry, that's what they teach you, is to, go through these processes. You're first, initiated, and then before you can practice Solomonic magic, you have to do an invocation and call down the archangels, because they have a power. If you look at like a mandala, all these angels, these 72 names or these 50 names, all of this, think about why there's 50 stars on the flag and all this. We're about to see it all. So every one of them have a source of power to where all these archangels rule over every demon and every angel within, the hierarchy, God's hierarchy. And they're all broken down into archetypes and entities, right? And this is the heavenly armies, basically. And the armies of hell also. So these lower dimensional beings of the distorted darkness, and these higher dimensional beings of the heavenly light, right? And the 4 archangels control all of them. So you can use those archangels, and they're invoked, meaning you call them down, right, into you and activate them within you, so you can use them as protection. Right, and it's 4 of them, and numerology, right? 4, and think about the word for, FORE, right? As in forethought, right? You're taking a preventative measure, right? Or fortress, right? It's a foundation. You're guarding yourself, protecting yourself. You're building something sturdy, firm. Okay. And that's why there's 4 of them, because the number correlates to that. The energies always correlate to the numbers. We've talked about this, how 1 is masculine, 2 is feminine, 3 is the child. 1 plus 2 is 3 equals a child, right? And then 3 plus 3 is 6, which equals the family. So the numbers actually correlate to everything. Mathematics truly is the universal language, or God's language. And that's why numerology is so powerful, if you truly understand it. But as we, kind of look at, these different things, that's what they're trying to actually show you is, you have that invocation to activate these things, to begin that process of the circumambulation, going within yourself, and you can activate by evoking, calling up these demons, parts of this unconscious that are no longer activated in you, and each one of them rules certain things, just like angels and planets, they rule certain things. They have different archetypes. Some of them, will give you the truth of the fallen angels. Some of them will give you money and this and that, and that's where you'll get people, making pacts, with devils and shit, okay? And that's why, because they're calling them up, because they rule a certain part of the world or a certain energy. So if you offer them something, you can get something in return, and you have to deal with them in specific ways, and that's what a lot of these books are actually about. Is teaching you how to call them, what to offer them, how to, banish them, and all of that. And this, you use a triangle. In the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye, the triangle, which is the first part of creation, right? The 3 points, God, the devil, you, or masculine, feminine, child, right? And the energy's trapped within it, which is the eye, the all-seeing eye, and that's the 4 points. That's the foundation. Then once it's put into motion, it becomes 5 points, which is the pentagram, which is you, the pinnacle, the starfish body, right? 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, right? Notice Jesus, when he was crucified, was pierced 5 times, representing the 5 senses as well. Okay? I hope this is making sense. I know I'm going kind of all over the place. But anyways, where are we at? The Magus by Barrett, and so all these works were eventually reprinted in the last 15 years or so. The Golden Dawn, a famous British and American occult lodge at the turn of the century, was said to have possessed a manuscript called The Veils of Negative Existence by another Arab. These were the sorcerer's handbooks, and generally not meant as textbooks or encyclopedias of ceremonial magic. In other words, a sorcerer or magician is supposed to be in possession of the requisite knowledge and training with which to carry out a complex magical ritual. Which a ritual is, it's just a rite of passage, right? Or passing into another level, another dimension, or another part of yourself. Passage. And a ritual is a routine. It's a routine. It's something that is, done in a specific order to create a passage, of energy, an allowance of energy. Just as a cook is expected to be able to master the scrambling of eggs before he conjures an egg benedict, the grimoires of black books were simply variations on a theme, like cookbooks, different records of what previous magicians had done, the spirits they had contacted, and the successes they had. The magicians who now read these works are expected to be able to select the wheat from the chaff in much of the same fashion as an alchemist discerning the deliberate errors in a treatise on his subject. And speaking of alchemy, Rosicrucianism and Golden Dawn, the Philosopher's Stone, which I believe is your third eye, and alchemizing iron into gold. Iron represents the physical body, right? And you're turning into gold, which is spirit. It's transmutation, or like Christ, he was transfigured, right? It's the same thing. These are all stories, and think about it. Yeshua, yes you are, right? Jesus, he's us, right? Like all these different names are trying to say the same thing. Solomon, right? Soul, which is the sun. Om, which is, the original word, the most powerful word. It's God's word. Om, and then moon, right? Sun, Om, moon. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And zero is the truest number too, right? It's everything else. Zero is like 0 point, like God, basically. So, therefore, it was and is insanity for the hero to pick up a work of ceremonial magic like the Lesser Key of Solomon to practice conjurations. It would also be folly to pick up Crowley's magic in theory and practice with the same intention. Both books are definitely not for beginners, a point which cannot be made too often. Unfortunately, perhaps, the dread Necronomicon falls into this category. Crowley's magic was a testimony of what he has found in his researches into the forbidden and the forgotten. Lore of past civilizations and ancient times. His Book of the Law was written in Cairo in the spring of 1904 when he believed himself to be in contact with a praetor human intelligence called Iowas, who dictated to him the 3 chapters to make up the book. It had influenced him more than any other, and the remainder of his life was spent trying to understand it fully and to make its message known to the world. It too contains the formulae necessary to summon the invisible into visibility, and the secret of transformations are hidden within its pages. But this is Crowley's own Necronomicon, received in the Middle East in the shadow of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and therein is writ not only the beauty, but the beast that yet awaits mankind. It would be a vain to attempt to deliver a synopsis of Crowley's philosophy, save that it is le motif, is the Rabbi Liaison. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. The actual meaning of this phrase has taken volumes to explain, but roughly it concerns the uniting of the conscious self, a process of individuation which culminates in a rite called knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, and the angel signifying the pure, evolved self. Yet there are many terrors on the way to self, and an abyss to cross before victory can be declared. Demons, vampires, psychic leeches, ghastly forms of occult that aspiring magician from every angle from every quarter around the circumference of the magic circle, and they must be destroyed, lest they devour the magician himself in that magic circle, right? Of the heavenly spheres, right? The circles, the curves. See what I'm saying? It's everything, the angles of the triangle, right? These lower, higher, and that's how all of this, works. And if you don't understand all these things and you go fucking dabbling, you're going to get fucked up. You're going to get your ass torn up, and you're going to learn a lot of good lessons. So you can do that at your own risk. When Crowley professed to have passed the obstacles and crossed the abyss of knowledge and found his true self, he found it was identical with the beast of the Book of Revelation, 666, whom Christianity considers to represent the devil. Indeed, Crowley had nothing but admiration for the Shaitan, or Satan, of the so-called devil-worshipping cult of the Yazidis of Mesopotamia, knowledge of which led him to declare the lines that open this introduction. For he saw that the Yazidis possess a great secret and a great tradition that extends far back into time beyond the origin of the sun cults of Osiris, Mithra, and Christ, even before the formation of the Judaic religion and the Hebrew tongue. Crowley hearkened back to a time before the moon was worshipped, to the shadow out of time. And in this, whether he realized it as such or not, he had heard the call of Cthulhu. Sumeria. Now this is kind of where it gets good. You guys know, Sumeria is basically our most ancient Sumeria, Acadia, Mesopotamia, right? Like this is the oldest books we have, the oldest knowledge we have, on the earth. And, this is where Enki, Enlil, right, the son Marduk, and, I'll kind of translate as we get into some of that too, like who's who and, how they correlate to different things, Yes, please hit that like button for me, guys. It really helps me out, it really does. It helps me out a ton, it does, more than you know. And like I said, if you want to get access to the uncensored show tonight, which we will, I'll do, public. I try to do as much as I can for free. If you want to catch, me on Patreon and the uncensored part, then please donate and support or join us over on Patreon. And, I'm just asking everybody to please consider supporting, because that's how I keep this channel going. That's how I keep myself going. And right now I've had some crazy expenses come up, so I definitely need the help. All right, here we go. Sumeria. That a recluse, and subscribe. A recluse author of short stories who lived in a quiet neighborhood in New England, and the manic, infamous master magician who called the world his home should have somehow met in the sandy waste of some forgotten civilization seems incredible. That they should both have become prophets and forerunners of a new aeon of man's history is equally, if not more, unbelievable. Yet with H.P. Lovecraft and Aleister Crowley, the unbelievable was a commonplace of life. These two men, both acclaimed as geniuses by their followers and admirers, and who never actually met, stretched their legs across the world, and in the 7-league boots of the mind they did meet on common soil, Sumeria. Sumeria is a name given to a once flourishing civilization that existed in what is now known as Iraq, in the area called by the Greeks Mesopotamia, and by the Arabs as simply the island. For it existed between two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, which run down from the mountains to the Persian Gulf. This is the site of the fabled city of Babylon, as well as of Ur and of the Chaldees and Kish. With Nineveh far to the north, each of the 7 principal cities of Sumeria was ruled by a different deity, who is worshipped in the strange, non-Semitic language of the Sumerians, and language which has been closely allied to that of the Aryan race, having in fact many words identical. And some are Sumerians, right? Some lands. You guys have heard like Great White Brotherhood, and I believe Ur is Epic of Gilgamesh. and Chaldeans, right? That's Great Britain. Those are the Chaldeans. The daughters of the Chaldeans is the United States. And with this Babylonian stuff, you'll see too, the Jews were actually in captivity to the Babylonians first, and then to the ancient Egyptians, right? So all of this is connected. And before all that, we had the Phoenicians. You're going to see every bit of it. Aryan means Aries, or of the East, which is Marduk, by the way. You're going to see all of this. That is the Sanskrit, and it is said to Chinese. For no one knows where the Sumerians came from, and they vanished, and this is where the Anunnaki live. They vanished just as mysteriously as they appeared after the Assyrian invasions, which decimated their culture, yet providing the Assyrians with much of their mythology and religion, so much so that the Sumerian became the official language of the state church, much as Latin is today of the Roman Catholic Church. They had a list of their kings before the flood, which even they carefully chronicled in these kings list and stuff. These are, like I said, these conscious giants. And they would rule for fucking tens of thousands of years and shit like that too. It was ridiculous, like I said, this was also before, our telomeres were altered and all of that. And you have to think, before the Nephilim were wiped off the earth, and these Nephilim are fallen, in my opinion, when you look at like the depictions of the I don't see buffering on my end, so if you guys are getting buffering, let me know. I don't see buffering where I'm watching from. They said the numbers are off and stuff, so I believe that. They fuck with my numbers bad here on YouTube for sure. What was I saying? Sorry guys, I lost my train of thought there. But these kings list and whatnot, before we had all these changes, and if you think about, the Nephilim, which were the fallen in these depictions of the Egyptians. Let me show you. Egyptian gods here. And I want to show you, watch. See, notice how they're all fucking like half animal and shit? You know what I mean? You know why? Right? Like, I believe I did a video called like Edgar Casey and Atlantis and shit like that. It was a really good one. I think YouTube took it down. Imagine that. Talking about the primordial beings as we descended down, and Madame Blavatsky, H.P. Blavatsky, Helena Blavatsky said there was like these original incarnations of humanity, and we started off as like astral and all of this, so it jived with this in like these different races, right? And we're now in like the 5th race, which is the Aryan race, right? And we basically descended more physically each time. Last age being the Piscean age, which was, water, religion, duality, all of that. We're now leaving that. It's lost its power. We're now Aquarian, which is air and the collective and so on and so forth, right? So each age we change, we evolve, and not only do we know that to be a fact, that's fucking factual. I don't give a fuck who says it's not. We can't remember any of our history because of that, because, we were on a different dimensional plane in each age. We had ages of Isis, which was maternal energy. We had ages of, Yahweh, right, which was, masculine, age of Taurus and Aries and Pisces. These were all different energies collectively, and the human consciousness was evolved in a different manner in each of these places, and we were in a different dimensional space. We were more ethereal beings in those times, and we're now shifting back to more of an ethereal being again instead of so physical, right? So these ethereal beings, these primordial entities, what they did when they descended down to Earth, which Earth was a place to like consciously create and project, Remember, it's holographic projection. Down here it says in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, we're made in the image of the Elohim, right? Image, phantom, projection, illusion, right? These lights that are projected, the governors, which are the archons, which are the 7 major planets, giving part of that projection, right? And the light or God, right, giving the other part, the luminaries, which are the heavenly host or stars, giving part of that projection, right? And we have all this light in order to manifest, right? And that's why the algorithm of who we are, is according to our astrology. The day that we were conceived, there were different constellations in different places, and certain lights and planets and shit were in different places, meaning that there were different energies that were stronger at certain times. So the makeup of you is composed of the different energies that were beaming down on the earth at that time, right? And according to, and remember, there's a numerical code as well. So if you're born on 9/21/83, you add that up, and that also has a numerical code and carries a frequency as well. And then your name carries a frequency. Why? That's your mantra. That's what you're called. They say in like Jewish religions not to name your child after somebody who's had a fucked up life. If your parent was shitty, don't name them after your parent. If your grandpa was a bum, don't name him after your grandpa, because that's a mantra. They carry that energy with them, right? And you think about people with biblical names and shit. Don't name them after somebody in the Bible who's gotten really fucked up and shit. Don't name him Job. You know what I mean? That would not be a good name because of the energy it carries. You want to name them, and each name has a meaning. John has a meaning. Beth has a meaning. Like, all these names have meanings, right? And these are our mantras. So these are all parts of the algorithm of who we are, our individual self, right? We have a higher self, an oversoul, a spirit, a God self. That's what's animating everything. But that individual, part of us is composed of all these different aspects of us, And these 7 sacred sciences, which we study in the occult and through, ancient Egypt and all this, these were the mysteries. That is, in essence, it's like the hidden secrets on how to interpret these laws of creation and apply them to your own individual algorithm and attain, awakening, higher dimensional status, more power within yourself, and ability to do greater things. Essentially, to become like God, right? Like in the Garden of Eden, right? That serpent, which, the Kundalini, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is a Sephiroth, right? Like, as above, so below, which also resembles your brain stem and all of that. Like, it's always, we see it always manifest on every level, too. Everything that takes place is not just on a physical level, it's on an individual level, a soul level, a mental level, emotional level. It's in the heavens and the stars and the constellations. You'll see it play out, on the earth. It's like, the reason being is because we are collectively manifesting and projecting ourselves. We are, a product of soul luminescence, that star in a jar, or fractal or fragment of the infinite creation, which, science has even proven, the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, this repeating number, right, is you. That's that energy within you. So these stories, right, which is the story of us, the story of our history, the story of our cycle, right, that sphere, that circle, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So this orbit, this loop that we are currently on in this dimensional, plane of space has a story to it. That hero's journey. And you see it reflected into every aspect of everything because we're consciously creating it all, And that's why there are these rites or rituals that can be spoken to trigger those parts of yourself. The code is written into all of it. So these primordial entities, when they were descending down into earth in the very beginning, they mingled with animals, and they solidified themselves. They became physical and were solidified with animal spirit and man, right? So they had this heavenly spirit and this animal spirit, and these animalistic spirits made them become demonic, right? Because they had animal tendencies. They were primal, They were primal. And that was kind of like the whole thing about the fallen angels, right? Descending upon the daughters of men. You think about masculine, feminine, right? Masculine, Mars. Feminine, Venus, right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And that's actually akin to an astrological cycle. Just to keep it all the way real, Venus is in tune with the feminine cycle, just like the moon is in tune with the feminine cycle, and the sun is in tune with the masculine cycle, and just like Mars is in tune with the masculine cycle, right? It's masculine, feminine, right brain, left brain. It's a dualistic duality, right? So, we got trapped in these physicals. These fallen angels did it, by coming onto the daughters of men. The daughter is a right brain, divine feminine, the intuitive. So it's your Holy Spirit, right? In essence. So these sons of God came unto the daughters of men. They came unto the Holy Spirit, right? And mingled with animalistic spirits and became demonic entities or fallen and trapped within this plane, and because of that, they were devouring men and devouring one another. These Nephilim were, right? Because they were feeding off of each other's energy and spirits. That's what they were doing. They became cannibals in essence. They were eating one another spiritually. They were parasitic because they were demonic, and then we were created, right, to bring in this light and this balance, which a lot of people believe it was like a rescue mission. I'm telling you, go watch that video I made of Edgar Casey and Atlantis and shit. It's really good. So you see all these, ancient Egyptian deities depicted as half animal and shit, and that's why, So, anyways, I hope this is making sense. I hope you guys are, enjoying the presentation, and it's like, it's really hitting home for you, and it's like, you're understanding it, because I feel like you're not going to hear this stuff nowhere else, It's lagging a little bit. That's weird. I don't see it, it's not lagging on whatever I have it watching on. What do you mean by lagging? Let me check this. I see what you're saying. That is so weird. Hold on, guys. Let me see what I can do here. That's weird. Hold on, guys. I don't know why it would be lagging. You can't see me. The screen is black. I don't know. I mean, I can see, so. Alright. So are we still... Are we still lagging? Is everybody good? I don't... And we were created, right, to bring in this light and this balance. Very interesting. I'm sorry, guys, if, I don't know, it wasn't lagging for me, but I did hear some sound weirdness, so... Alright, we're gonna go deeper into this. Hopefully, I apologize, man. This is not how I wanted this to go. Let me know if everybody can hear me and see me and, everything sounds good and all of that stuff. I am recording this, so if I have to, guys, I will fucking re-upload this bitch, so. That's so weird. It's so weird why I would be doing that. Alright, so where are we at? Alright. Now, and let me know if you guys can hear me. If you're in the chat, let me know. If you're in the chat, let me know. Seriously, somebody fucking say something. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, if we're lagging, if the sound's good. Somebody say fucking something. One of y'all say something, seriously. What the fuck? Come on. I'll wait till somebody says something. Let me know, guys. Thank you. I'm glad it's awesome. But I mean, I need to know if my sound is good, if the video is good. Like, that's what I need to know. I got people saying it lags, and I got people saying I got a black screen. So I need to know. I'm not going to do shit till somebody tells me things are good. Guys, let me know something. Like, seriously. If not, I'm going to just cut it off and go to the private shit. Seriously. Like, nobody can even say nothing. For real. Alright, fuck it. Are you kidding me? Wow. Alright. Well, I guess I'm gonna wrap it up. Can't anybody even fucking tell me if the sound's good? Fuck y'all, for real. Like, seriously, that's some bullshit. I've asked like 5 times, too. Okay, so I don't know what is going on with my goddamn, let me see if I can fix this, dude. I don't know why this is happening here. Let me see if I can change it, guys. Hopefully this helps right here. And it should. Give me 1 second. Alright, it's good. Thank you. Seriously. Like, fucking, I only asked like 30 goddamn times. I'm trying to make sure it's good for y'all. Thank you. Alright. Thank you. Alright, so I just changed the little settings here, so hopefully that fixes it. I think that's what I had. I think I just had my settings wrong, so I do apologize for that. So, the first creation epic is found. Hold on. It's believed that they had a sophisticated system of astronomy and astrology, as well as equally religious ritual. Magic as well in history begins at Sumer for the Western world, for it is here the sand-buried cuneiform tablets that recorded an age that the first creation epic is found. The first exorcism, the first ritual invocations of planetary deities, the first dark summonings of evil powers, and ironically, the first burnings of people the anthropologists call witches. And if it does lag or whatever, please let me know, guys. That way I can see it in the chat. Lovecraft mythos deal with what are known as chthonic deities. That is underworld gods and goddesses, much like the Leviathan of the Old Testament. I told you it's like the Leviathan. Yeah. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that for the people that did respond. I'm not meaning to be a dick. It's just like, damn. It's like you fucking all these platforms and asking, can't nobody reply. Seriously. And it's chthonic deities, that is underworld gods and goddesses, much like the Leviathan of the Old Testament. The pronunciation of chthonic is catonic. Interesting, catonic. You know, I wonder if that's like catatonic, you know what I mean? Which explains Lovecraft's famous Miskatonic River and Miskatonic University, not to mention the chief deity of his pantheon, Cthulhu, a sea monster who lies, not dead, but dreaming. Not dead, but dreaming. So that's an astral realm, right? Below the world. So he's in hell or Sheol, right? He's a sea monster, so he's of the water, right? The water's above and below the firmament, and he's not dead, but dreaming, right? So he's in a lower astral realm. He's a lower astral being. He's in hell, you know. And he's the Leviathan. Interesting. He's accompanied by an assortment of other grotesques, such as Azathoth. Alright, hold on. Let's go. Let's jump in. Alright. I think I went back a little bit. Here we go. Here we go. Alright, now this is where it gets good. The underworld in ancient Sumeria was known by many names. Among them, Absu, or Abyss, sometimes as Nar Maturu, the great underworld ocean, and also known as Kuta, or Kutu, as it is called in the Enuma Elish, the creation epic of the Sumerians. The phonetic similarity between Kuta and Kutu and Chthonic, as well as Cthullo, is striking. Judging by Sumerian grammar at hand, the word Cthulhu or Cthulhu, Lovecraft's Cthulhu, Sumerianized would mean the man of Kutu or Kuta, the man of the underworld. Interesting. Satan or Shaitan, as he is known of the Yazidis, whom Crowley considered to be the remnants of the Sumerian tradition. The list of similarities both between Lovecraft creation and Sumerian gods, as well as between Lovecraft mythos and Crowley magic, can go on nearly indefinitely and in depth, for which there is no space here at present. An exhaustive examination of Crowley's occultism in light of recent findings concerning Sumeria and exegesis of Lovecraft's stories is presently in preparation and is hoped to be available shortly. Until that time, few examples should suffice. Although a list is appended hereto containing various entities and concepts of Lovecraft, Crowley, Sumeria cross-referenced, it will do to show how the editor found relationships to be valid and even startling. Azathoth is frequently mentioned in the grim pages of Cthullo Mythos and appears in the Necronomicon as Ezagthoth, a combination of two words, the first Sumerian and the second Coptic, which gives us a clue as to the identity. Ezag or Azag in Sumerian means enchanter or magician, and Thoth is the Coptic in the name given to the Egyptian god of magic and wisdom. Yeah, so isn't that interesting? Ezag Thoth, right? So this is Thoth, interesting. Tahuti, who was evoked by the Golden Dawn, and Crowley himself, and known to the Greek as Hermes, from whence we get Hermetic. Azag Thoth is therefore a lord of magicians, but of the black magicians, or the sorcerers of the other side. There is a seeming reference to Shub-Niggurath in the Necronomicon in the name of a Sumerian city. The answer of prayers is called Ishingarab. Ishingarab. The word Shub is to be found in Sumerian language in reference to the rite of exorcism, one of which is called Nam Shub and means the throwing. It is, however, as yet unclear as to what combination Shub Ishingarab, Shub Niggurath might actually mean. There was a battle between the forces of light and darkness, so-called, that took place long before man was created, before even the cosmos as we know it existed. It described fully in the Enuma Elish and had in the bastardized version found the Necronomicon and was involved in the ancient ones led by the serpent Mumu Tiamat and her male counterpart Absu against the elder gods called such in the Necronomicon by the warrior Marduk, son of the sea god Enki, lord of magicians of this side, or what would be called white magicians. Although close examination of the myths of ancient times makes one pause for attempting to judge which of the two warring factions was good or evil, Marduk won this battle in much the same way the later St. George and St. Michael would defeat the serpent again. The cosmos was created from the body of the slain serpent, and man was created from the blood of the slain commander of the ancient army. Kingu, thereby making man a descendant of the blood of the enemy, as well as the breath of the elder gods. And if you think about this too, guys, Tiamat, Tiamat in the Tale of Nibiru in the Anunnaki, and I believe it's the Lost Book of Enki. Tiamat is the feminine serpent that gets destroyed, right? She gets busted in a billion fucking pieces. She's a divine feminine, and she's a serpent energy. So I want you to think about that. She's busted in all these pieces. She's fragmented, right? She's a divine feminine, fragmented. And they take her and spread her out all across the universe. That way she could never be put back together. I think that's, describing the light being spread. And they describe her as an evil bitch, too. They're like, she devours everything. And why? Because she's the light, right? The light transmutes darkness, so it's devouring of everything, right? Interesting. And the sea god Enki, right? Enki is first. He was Ea, which meant Lord of the water, right? Ea, earth, right? Earth made up of 70% water and heart, right? Lord of the water. Then he became Lord of the earth, right? When man was created, and that's because, the earth and the heart thing. And he's the god of love. He was very sexual. He was the god of wisdom and, knowledge. He created man, right? He was the good brother. He was the shepherd. There's always a warrior and a shepherd, right? Christ is the shepherd. Satan, the warrior, so on and so forth, right? And Lord of the magicians, he'd also be Lucifer as well. The white magicians, although are close examination of the Misbipata of ancient times makes one pause for before attempting to judge which of the two warring factions was good or evil. Marduk won this battle, and Marduk was the son of Enki. He was the firstborn son, and because Enki was actually the older brother, I believe, he was supposed to be the ruler. Their father was Anu, right? Which was God, basically. And the Enki and Enlil, Lord Commander Enlil, which would be like your Satan, in the Lord of the Earth, actually got to be the king, got the throne instead of Enki. So Enki declared when Marduk was born, his firstborn son, that Marduk, would, rise above the heavens and basically take the throne, and that actually ended up happening. And Marduk also was the leader of the Ajiji, right, which was the slave race that the Anunnaki created to mine gold. So the Anunnaki would be like those from the heaven came, right? They would be akin to planets, I believe, these gods. And then they created a slave race, which was Ajiji. And these Ajiji were the ones who started marrying women, right? So these would be like your Nephilim. These would be like your fallen. And they were slaves for the Anunnaki to mine gold. And remember, gold means either the heavens or it means spirit, right? So to mine souls, spiritual energy. Marduk was the leader of them as well. So, in much the same way, later St. George and St. Michael would defeat the serpent again. The cosmos was created from the body of the slain serpent, and a man created from the blood of the enemy, as well as the breath of the elder gods. There's your spirit right there, the breath of the elder gods. So it's like the good part. That's the real gods, right? The elder gods. And the cosmos was created from the body of the slain serpent. and the blood of the slain commander of the ancient army, King U. And King U, which is King U, right? King U, was the moon, I believe. King U was in love with Tiamat, and he was so loyal and in love with Tiamat, excuse me, that when they busted her in all these pieces, he was condemned to, watch her and shit for the rest of his days, right? So the piece that was left was basically Earth, right? Earth, and I told you, it's the collective conscious third eye. Earth is. It's a launching pad between higher and lower dimensions. It has the heavenly host or the stars energy here. It has God's creation energy here, and it has the archons or rulers of the reality's creation here. It's all, here. Every bit of creation. This is the center of creation, in my opinion, right? So Kingu was the moon. And thereby making a man descendant of the blood of the enemy, as well as the breath of the elder gods, a close parallel to the sons of God and daughters of men. And just said that. The reference to the Old Testament. Yet, through the identity of the victor is clear. There were and are certain persons and organizations that dared side with the vanquished, believing ancient ones to be a source of tremendous and most unbelievable power. Most of the ancient ones in history, let them curse it that curse today, who are skillful to rouse Leviathan in Job, right? And I just mentioned Job earlier, right? When we were talking about names and how they're mantras. You've never had a tarot reading before? Well, book a tarot reading then if you would like one. That information is down below. And if I owe anybody a tarot reading, I'll be sending those out tomorrow. I got a little bit caught up in all this. And if you purchase a tarot reading this week, I will give you access to the private shows as well. I'm doing them on sale this week for $35. So, let him that curse the day, who are skillful to rouse Leviathan. Let's go. All right, here we go. Okay, so the monster is well known to cult worship all over the world. In China, however, there is an interesting twist. Far from being considered a hostile creature dedicated to the erasure of mankind from the page of existence, the dragon is given a place of preeminence, and one does not hear of a Chinese angel or saint striving to slay the dragon, but rather to cultivate it. The Chinese system of geomancy, feng shui, pronounced feng shui, is a science of understanding dragon currents, right, which are energies, which exist beneath the earth. The same telluric energies that are distilled in such places as Chartres Cathedral in France, Glastonbury, Tours in England, and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, both the European and Chinese cultures. The dragon or serpent is said to reside somewhere below the earth. It's a very powerful force and a magical force which is identified with mastery over the created world. It is also a power that can be summoned by the few, not the many. However, in China, there did not seem to be a backlash of fear for resentment against the force, as was known in Europe and Palestine. So let's jump farther here. The witches of today, however, while acknowledging the importance of the male element of telluric power, generally prefer to give the great honor to the female principle. Personified as the goddess has also been worshipped all over the world and under many names, but is still essentially the same goddess. That Tiamat was undoubtedly female is to the point that the Chinese as well as the Sumerians perceived of two dragon curtains, and male and female gives the researchers a more complex picture. The green dragon, the red dragon, and the alchemists are thus identified as a positive and negative energies that comprise the cosmos of our perception, as manifest in the famous Chinese yin-yang symbols. But what of Inanna, the single planetary deity having female? She is invoked in the Necronomicon and identified the vanquisher of death, for she descended into the underworld and defeated her sister, the goddess of the abyss, Queen Ereshkigal, possibly another name for Tiamat. And like I said, Tiamat being destroyed, in the story of Nibiru, right? You can see they actually have a chart for this. These different charts and comparisons. I don't have my chat pulled up to be able to actually comment, but I will try to. I'll put this definitely on Patreon for anybody that's interested. So I am going to wrap up the public part of tonight's show, and I'm actually going to, head on to the private because I'm starting to get a little bit tired. So, and we're getting ready to get into the crazy shit now anyways. I'm ready to jump into the crazy stuff. So, guys, like I said, please consider donating and supporting to the channel. This is how, I'm able to take care of me, the people I love in my life, and how I'm able to, create content for you guys. So if you enjoy my work, you appreciate what I do, please donate and support. Just had so many things come up recently, like medical expenses, just all kinds of shit. So I really, really need help from my family there. So y'all show some love if you can. I greatly appreciate it. And remember, every penny helps. Seriously. PayPal.me/thebestdampodcast, Cash App Best Damn Podcast, and Facebook.com John Keane Best Damn Podcast. And everybody who donates, in the month of January, you'll get access to every live during January, and you will also get access to all of the uncensored shows, like the library of all the uncensored shows. And once you've donated and supported, text 513-393-2396 or email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com. And I'll send you the links. That way you guys can watch the private shows as well. And if you purchase a tarot reading from now to the end of the month, I will also give you access to the private content. Right now they're on sale for $35. You cannot beat that. Nobody does them this cheap. Especially that cheap. That's really cheap. $35. You also text 513-393-2396 or email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com. Or you can join us over on Patreon, and you go directly to all the links. And that is patreon.com Best Damn Podcast Official. Patreon.com Best Damn Podcast Official. All of the links are in the description. Patreon, PayPal, Cash App, Facebook Messenger. And on Facebook, if we're not friends, make sure to friend request me and send me an instant message if you want to use the Facebook Pay stuff. And don't forget to text or email to get your links. And I guess I will see you guys over on Patreon, or I'll shoot the links over to you guys before I get started on the back half. And we're going to get into the really weird stuff. So, I'm excited. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate you, like more than you even know. I'm sorry. I have my settings off earlier and there was a little bit of lag or whatever. Please share this, man. Share the links in the groups you belong to, your social media pages. Sharing is like the only way I can get it out there, you know. And make sure to, hit the thumbs up. That helps. Comment. That helps. And make sure you're subscribed and that you have, or you're following on Facebook and that you are clicking all for the notifications. So every time I go live, you can actually check it out. And I want to encourage you, check out the videos we recently did. We did Revelation video. That was really good. That was last week. Week before that, we did the Epstein files. Those were both Sunday, uncensored shows. And then we got an entire library of uncensored shows as well. So, I mean, we got a huge library of them. I mean, it goes back for years, literally. And we did the Gateway Project, part 1 and 2. That was really cool. And I'm trying to think. The last video I did get in trouble for it. YouTube took it down. So, yeah. Then the one I did with Justin and Derek Bros on Twitter Spaces, that didn't work out either. I don't know if you guys seen the comments, but literally, that's why I don't have a co-host anymore. Because, he was on there literally fucking trying to extort me and tell me to take my own content down if I didn't pay him money to be on it. And not Derek, by the way. Derek did not do that. That was Justin. So if you see Justin's shitty comments, on that video, that's why. That's why. He thinks, it's a free video. It's public. It's free. I'm not making any money off that video. People don't even donate anymore, So, I don't know. It's crazy as fuck. But I am looking for people to help me out and come on the show and shit like that. So if you, have stuff you want to share, hit me up. I would definitely bring you on. And if you would like to book a personal tarot reading, text 513-393-2396 or email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com as well. And make sure to check out the daily reads and TikTok and all that good stuff. So I love you guys so much. Thank you to everybody that will support, and I'll see all the rest of you guys here in just a few minutes on the private show. Y'all have an awesome one. Peace. Yeah.